I'm Elaine Viets. All across America, we're losing treasures. They're rotting in attics, falling apart in closets, and getting musty in basements. But James Gordon of the Smithsonian Museum wants to help us save those treasures for the museum and for the families who own them. He's helping Black Americans save their heritage. We'll talk about the Save Our African American Treasures program on today's Dead End Job Show. I'm Elaine Viets. Today we're talking with James Gordon with the Smithsonian Museum about its program called Save Our African American Treasures, a national collections initiative of discovery and preservation on the Dead End Jobs Show. James, why the push now to save African American treasures?
Well, thank you. For many years, and as I'm sure everybody knows, items of historical and cultural significance that have been tucked away in the closets, attics, basements, garages of just ordinary people's homes have gone unnoticed and languishing and sometimes discarded. And the director of the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture, Lonnie Bunch, decided back in 2008 that similar to the program Antiques Roadshow, we wanted to start a program where we go across the country to African American communities and impress upon them how important it is to preserve this cultural patrimony of the African American community for future generations. I don't know about you, but every time I move, I throw something away.
Absolutely.
And then to come later to regret it, you know. I said, wow, I wish I had kept that old Beatles album or something like that, you know. And we want to teach people, number one, the importance of recognizing that, you know, once you throw these things away, they're lost forever. And also, when you have them, what's the best way to take care of them and preserve them so they will last for the next generations?
Now, what do you consider African American treasures? Old photos, dresses, family Bibles?
Yes. You know, the National Museum of African American History and Culture, which is going to open in 2015, will be hopefully an encyclopedic collection of African American history from the days of slavery to present. And many of the things that we get in the Treasures program actually span that period. We get a number of slave items such as slave badges, shackles. We at the Detroit Treasures program, we got a violin, or I guess back in those days they called it a fiddle, that belonged to a slave. And the interesting story about that is that the violin actually first belonged to the slave owner, and the owner didn't know how to play it, but one of his slaves did, so he gifted the violin to the slave so the slave could play music for him. So that artifact, very fortunately, was handed down, year to year, generation to generation, and it survived long enough to reach us at the Detroit African American Treasures program, and the woman that brought it graciously donated it to the museum.
Now, you were in Fort Lauderdale recently with this program. You've been in Detroit. What are some of the other cities that you visited?
Oh, it started out, like I said, in 2008 in Chicago. It reminded us we were reminded this past week of the very cold weather we had when we were there for that Treasures program, with the very cold weather they're getting there now. It was a very cold day, and we were gratified that a number of people came out still in that weather to come to our Treasures program. Since then, we've done one here in Washington, D.C. We've done them in Albany, Georgia, in Detroit, in Los Angeles, in Topeka, Kansas. A number. This is the one that we did uh, in Florida. Will be the 14th treasures that we've done.
Now, tell me about some of your other unusual finds. One, as I understand it, was a Ku Klux Klan uniform?
Yeah, yes, we've gotten a number of Klan items, from robes to just documents to medals that they've given out to patches, that sort of thing. And oddly enough, in that same vein, when we were in Topeka, Kansas, and we'd like to say that the Treasures program, even though we call it Save Our African American Treasures, the program is open to anyone, and we get a wide cross section of people that come to the program. And when we were in Topeka, Kansas, a person brought in one of the largest Nazi flags that it was a banner, a largest Nazi flags I've ever seen. We had to put together like four tables to stretch this flag out to examine, and we our textile curators and conservationists helped the woman who I believe it was collected by one of her relatives who had served in World War II, and taken it home as a souvenir. And our conservators helped her to pack it up in acid-free paper and put it in a box so she could preserve that. For whatever reason, I guess it's just just a piece of history, and so that's one of the rare objects we have collected. Another one was a doll, which is the strangest thing that I had ever seen, that was made from it was just a large piece of wood, that obviously that someone with a little bit of craftsmanship, but not a whole lot, made a doll. It looked like they had made a doll out of it for a child. And so that was a very touching artifact that someone brought in. But people bring in. We stress to people that we don't like people to bring weapons. A lot of people collect Civil War swords or muskets or things of that nature. But we try to impress on people that they don't bring those, because a lot of places have rules against bringing weapons into the venues. But when we were in Albany, Georgia, a gentleman brought an African spear and a shield that he had collected when he traveled to Africa. So we had to inspect those outside of the parking lot because of rules against bringing weapons. And the things that we don't like people to bring are artwork, furniture, and even though we ask people not to. Some people, it's inevitable. Some people will bring in a chair or something like that, or a painting that someone did in their family. So we still try to accommodate them, but we try to request that people don't bring in things of that nature. But just a number. When we were in Atlanta, a gentleman brought in just a crate full of old cast iron farm equipment, and I couldn't really even identify what it was, but it was obvious that it was like things that were used either in blacksmithing or farming and things of that nature. And I don't know if you're familiar with no, that was in South Carolina, and I don't know if you're familiar with South Carolina, but there was a tradition of metalworking, where they make these very elaborate sort of gates and railings and things out of metalwork, and there was a blacksmithing tradition there, so we got a lot of things that were made by blacksmiths. Every city has something unique that is unique to that city that people bring. When we were in Los Angeles, people brought in old movie posters and handbills about either movies or jazz clubs and things of that nature. So every city is unique.
Now, old photographs. My grandparents, who were born about 1900, were very poor, and there
Hmm.
are no photos of them as young people, except a photo of my grandpa as a little boy. There's no wedding
Hmm.
photos. Um, my mother-in-law, who was better off, every footstep was documented. Now,
Mm-hmm.
are older photos of African American people hard to find?
No, that's one of the most frequent objects that people bring in is photographs, and all different types of photographs. Um, there are tin types, there are daguerreotypes, there's glass negatives. Uh, you name it, every type of photograph that you can think of, people bring in. Um, one of the ones that I enjoy seeing a lot, and we do see this a lot, are photographs of black military regiments, particularly Army regiments. And there was a custom, and I'm not sure if it's still in place, where the company will take a company photograph, and they are sort of like panoramic photos. These photos are maybe 3 feet long by 2 feet high, and I've seen maybe a half a dozen of them since we've been doing the treasures, and they're just really great photographs to look at of these, 100 African American men in uniform standing, in a formation. And sometimes we received a photo from Florida actually of I think it was the 57th Ordnance Company from Camp Blanding, Florida. It was taken in February of 1942, and it shows the regiment of the company of black soldiers in uniform with about 10 of men in uniforms as cooks. They had their white chef's uniforms on in the middle, and then the two Caucasian commanders, because even though the soldiers were black, the commanders were white, and the two commanders in the of the company, and it's a amazing photograph, and we've seen quite a few of those. And when we were in Kansas, as a matter of fact, also a white couple came in, and one of I think it was their grandfather or great grandfather was one of the commanders of the company, and he was in the photo, and she donated that photo to us. So it was very heartwarming that they thought it was important enough to donate their grandfather's photo or great grandfather's, I can't remember which one it was, to the museum, and so we have that in our collection now.
When does the National Museum of African American History and Culture open?
Like I said, we plan to open in 2015, probably somewhere towards the end of 2015, on a tract of land right adjacent to the Washington Monument in Washington, on the National Mall in Washington, D.C.
You've already have some things in place in the building. I understand that there's a Jim Crow railroad car. Can you tell us what Jim Crow is, or rather was?
Yeah, well, Jim Crow was the practice of segregation in the South after the Civil War, and from the time of Reconstruction in the I guess early 1900s to the Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s, and it was just either legally or just practiced system of segregation. And the quote unquote Jim Crow era car was just basically a some people thought it was a Pullman car, but it's not a Pullman car. It was made by another company. I can't remember what it was, but it was simply a railroad car that was divided into one large section that looked like a normal railroad car, and then a smaller section that didn't have upholstered seats. It was just like benches, and that was the large section was for Caucasians, and the smaller, not very nice section was for African Americans. And we acquired that car from the company that produced it, or whatever company it is now, and we had it restored. And just about a month and a half ago, we lowered it by crane. Even though our building isn't built yet, we had to, because of the size of this piece, we had to put it in the building before the walls were built and the doors were put on, because it obviously wouldn't fit through any door. So we had a crane lift it up and put it on the floor in the place where it will be in the museum, and we will build the museum around it. At the same time that we did that, we also installed a guard tower from the infamous Louisiana State Penitentiary at Angola. It's called Angola, which was infamous for its brutality against African American inmates. And so the prison, the state, and trying to preserve the prison is still there, but they're updating it, but they wanted to preserve the history of the prison, so they donated one of the old original guard towers to us, and we placed that in the museum at the same time as we placed as a railroad car. So those two artifacts that are what we call our founding artifacts that are in the building as we speak, as it's beginning to be, as it's continuing to be built.
Now you're still looking for articles for the museum, and I was surprised some of them might actually be in our listeners' homes. I saw things like protest and riot gear, Hurricane Katrina help signs, Michael Jordan shoes. Can you tell me a little bit about some of those that are actually from the present times?
Yeah, we are still, like you said, Hurricane Katrina and things from the presidential campaign, Barack Obama's presidential campaign. We are in, and this wouldn't be in anybody's home, obviously, but we are in a very active search for a slave ship or pieces of a slave ship or remnants of a slave ship. And actually, I guess it could, if it's a remnant, I guess it could be in somebody's home. We are interested in early sports memorabilia. Obviously, anything related to like Jesse Owens or Hank Aaron or any of the historic and well-known black sports stars.
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan, obviously, and we are, in hopes that, that either Michael himself or people who have collected, we're being contacted on a daily basis by people who, as they begin to hear that we are looking for these types of things, are coming forward. Recently, a gentleman came forward with a ring that was Jackie Robinson's rookie ring when he was with the Brooklyn Dodgers, his championship ring in his rookie season with the Brooklyn Dodgers. The gentleman is from Arizona. He came all the way from Arizona on his own dime to personally donate the ring to us, and that was a great day. So
you're even looking. I'm sorry.
Ahead.
You're even looking for things like cosmetics from the 70s and hip hop things.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a pin, a gold pin that was given out by Madam C.J. Walker, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with who she was. She was the first woman black millionaire in this country. She created and sold a line of hair care products.
She was
And
from St.
so,
Louis, wasn't she?
yes,
Ah,
absolutely, yes. And so when we were in Chicago, a woman donated one of her, and the pin was sort of like, it's not real gold, it's gold metal looking, but it was to reward people who had good sales numbers at the time. It was sort of like a bonus for good sales. And so since then, there have been a number of African Americans who have started hair care products and cosmetics companies, and we are very keen on collecting things from that era. As I think you know that people like James Brown and Al Sharpton and things of that nature have sort of push the look of hair products. James Brown was famous for his hair, and and so remembering that history is very important to us.
now you also are interested in Motown items, Prince, anything to do with Stevie Wonder, and also medals. I saw a
Hmm.
Medal of Honors awarded to
Yes.
African Americans.
Yes. Yeah. When we were in Detroit, a woman brought in a number of medals that were given to her father. Her father was a Vietnam veteran, and so he was he either was a fighter pilot or a helicopter pilot. I can't remember which one he was, but she brought in a number. He had a Purple Heart. And a number of the other medals. He was obviously a very brave and active soldier because he had a number of medals. And she also brought in his flight helmet, the helmet that they wear when they fly. And we're going to have a military history wing of the hotel of the museum, and so we are actively looking for from all of the wars, from the Civil War to the current wars that we're unfortunately fighting right now. We really want to. It's important for us to tell the history of African Americans who fought and died for our country.
What is if someone has a treasure that they believe that is worth preserving? What can they
Hmm.
do about it?
Well, the best way to do it would be to go onto our website, which is you don't have to put www, just put nmahc.si.edu. And I know it's hard to remember, but it's the initials of the National Museum of African American History and Culture, nmahc.si.edu, and it has a button right up on the homepage where if you'd like to donate an item, you can do so.
And will you also give people help if they can't come to these programs in cities to preserve their family treasures?
Yes, absolutely. And there's a on the website also there is a treasures page which spells out all of the different preservation techniques and things that they can do to preserve their treasures. Some things are just you don't think about them, but are simple things to do, like don't keep, we used to say we were looking for items that were in people's attics and basements. Well, those are actually the two worst places where you should store artifacts. The attics are usually too hot in the summertime, and the basements are too damp. So if you have perishable items, not a great place to keep them. So keep them somewhere in the middle of the house where you live, either in a closet, and and keep them away from the light, especially if they're photographs.
Well,
And
thank you
when I was
again, James Gordon. Oh, I'm
uh-huh.
sorry to say we're out of time.
Okay.
I appreciate talking to James Gordon with the Smithsonian Museum, telling us about Save Our African American Treasures. I'm Elaine Viets, and you're listening to the Dead End Job Show.